All right, let's dive into something pretty wild. We all know the story of the biblical tabernacle, right? This elaborate tent in the desert. But what if the instructions to build it weren't just for a tent? What if they were a hidden blueprint for something completely different?
I mean, what if every single one of those precise measurements, the wood, the cloth, the metal, was actually part of a secret code? A code that lays out a timeline for Jesus' ministry, mapping its exact length, the key events, even the people involved. Yeah, that's the incredible theory we're going to unpack right now.
So the whole idea behind this is that the physical tabernacle was never supposed to be just a building. It was a giant, complex metaphor. Think of it as a symbolic model for a more perfect tabernacle that was still to come.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at what this more perfect tabernacle really is. Then, we'll decode the layers of the roof. After that, we'll find the key to the whole thing, the cubit. We'll use that to map out a 4-year ministry and finally, see how this blueprint even includes the disciples themselves. So, first things first, we have to completely throw out the idea of the tabernacle as just, wood and cloth. The foundation for this entire theory rests on looking at it in a totally different way. And here's the key concept. The true tabernacle, according to this interpretation, isn't a physical thing at all. It's not made with human hands. It is the people, the community of believers. And once you make that leap, that the parts represent people and events, well, the whole thing stops looking like architecture and starts to look a lot like a code.
Okay, so where do we find the first big clue in this code? Well, you just have to look up at the multi-layered roof that covers the whole thing.
You see, the roof wasn't just one single layer. It was actually made of 3 totally distinct sets of curtains and coverings. And the theory goes that these aren't just for, keeping the rain out. They actually represent 3 different phases of a story, all laid out in order. And check this out. Here's how it's all mapped out. The outermost layer, the rough skins, that's to symbolize John the Baptist's ministry. Then you go 1 layer in to the goat hair, and that represents the first 2 years of Jesus' ministry, when he was primarily a rabbi. And then that innermost really beautiful layer, the messianic curtains, that represents his final 2 years as the Messiah. It's literally a timeline woven into fabric.
Okay, but that's all symbolic, right? How do you get actual dates from that?
Well, to do that, you need the master key, the thing that unlocks the entire blueprint. And it involves a totally unexpected twist on a common ancient measurement. We're talking about the cubit. Now, a cubit is just a unit of length, right? From your elbow to the tip of your middle finger. It's like a foot or a meter. It measures space. That's all it does. Or is it? And this is the Rosetta Stone of the entire theory. The big idea is that in the tabernacle's symbolic language, a cubit isn't just for measuring space, it's also for measuring time. A square cubit of fabric might equal a specific number of days. And once you accept that one idea, well, that's when all the calculations can begin. So let's put this key to the test. Let's take the measurements of those super important inner curtains and apply this whole cubit as time idea and see if we can calculate the total length of the ministry. Okay, stick with me on the math here. It's pretty straightforward. First, you calculate the total surface area of those innermost messianic curtains and the veils. And what do you get? Exactly 1,420 square cubits. Step 2, you take the average number of days in a Jewish lunar year, which is 355. Now for the magic. You divide the area by the year. 1420 divided by 355, and you get a perfect round 4. Exactly, 4 years. Now, a 4-year ministry might sound a little different from the 3.5 years we usually hear about, but the theory points to other clues for support, like the parable of the barren fig tree. Remember that one? The vine dresser says to wait until the 4th year to look for fruit. So it seems like this 4-year idea has an echo in Jesus' own teachings. But believe it or not, the code doesn't just stop with the timeline. It gets even more detailed. The theory argues that the tabernacle's structure also maps out the actual people and places of the ministry. And this is where the system gets really, really intricate. It's not just about time anymore. Every physical piece is said to represent people. The 48 big wooden boards, they're mapped to communities in specific cities. Those tiny little golden clasps, they stand for hundreds of individual disciples. Even the pillars and bases are tied to the 120 leaders of the early movement. It's incredible. So get this. The walls of the tabernacle aren't just walls. Each one of those 48 boards is a stand-in for a specific community. a sheepfold, they're called, in one of 25 different cities mentioned in the Gospels. The entire structure basically becomes a geographical map.
And what holds this whole map together? Those 50 little golden clasps. They're interpreted as being the 500 or so key disciples who were like the connective tissue of the movement, the ones who linked all those communities together to form one unified tabernacle of people.
Okay, I want you to remember one last number. 4,920. What is that? Well, according to this theory, that's the total surface area in square cubits of all the curtains in the tabernacle put together. It sounds kind of random, I know, but just hold on to it, because it's supposedly the key to one final, absolutely astonishing connection.
And here it is, the last piece of the puzzle. That number, 4,920, the total area of the curtains, it turns out to be numerically identical to the calculated value of the big inaugural offering mentioned in the book of Numbers, an offering that is connected to the feeding of the 5,000. It's presented as this mind-blowing mathematical link between the tabernacle's blueprint and one of the most famous events of the entire ministry.
So all of this leaves us with a pretty huge question, doesn't it? Could this ancient architectural plan really be a divinely encrypted blueprint, a detailed prophecy written in cubits and curtains? Or is this an incredible testament to the human ability to find deep, intricate patterns in sacred texts? That's really the puzzle at the very heart of this whole thing.